Hello everyone. This is my first official video where I'm actually talking in depth about a certain topic and not really recording any gameplay. This is Green Ranger. For those, I never really post my picture on my Twitter or my blog, so this is me, and I'm here today to talk about One Night in Karazhan. I've done a exhaustive arena analysis in a lot of the same ways that some of the good arena players in Hearthstone do. So I wrote a blog post primarily giving each of the Karazhan cards, now that they've been released, a tier score, an arbitrary tier score. That I looked at some of the scores that Lightforge with Adwicta and Merps, and also Hearth Arena. I looked at what number corresponds to what. Basically you think of a 50 as an average minion, your 2 3s, your 3 2s, and then it goes primarily 0 to 100. I'd say some cards that are really good get scores over 100, but it's an arbitrary scale of how good cards are, and that's basically what the blog does. But in this video I'm going to try to go more into depth with what's going to drop out, and also an overview and longer explanations of why I gave the cards their scores. So first I'm going to drop off this link here. This is a link to my Arena Mastery site, and this is just in case people, they're six win arena players, and they say, this guy doesn't even have 5 yet, but used to be a 5-win player. I dropped off low. I've been holding steady at 485, but this is just way to validate my experience. I'm not that great of an arena player, but I play one almost every day, so I have a lot of experience. So that's just there. Show who track my stats, I guess, but if you want to look at that. So first I'm going to talk about First, I'm going to talk about stat distributions, and I have a running spreadsheet of all the Hearthstone cards, and I added all the Karazhan cards once they were released on Friday night. So it's really interesting because Old Gods brought the biggest minions. They have they cost about 4.6. But health-wise, they averaged 4.4. They have pretty good attack too. With Karazhan, you've got the cheapest minions since LOE, and also the second lowest attack, and also the lowest health by a good margin. So these minions, if you don't understand how the arena works, you get offered 3 cards per pick of 30 picks, and there's a bonus offering for your class cards, but then there's also a bonus offering for whatever the newest set is. So we've been in the Old Gods arena meta, and we've been getting these big minions, and if you see here, we're gonna get a boost from Karazhan, and there's quite the drop off in health and attack. And the thing to notice is that Old Gods had a lot. It was a full expansion, whereas Karazhan is just an adventure. So when you're getting offered an increased offering rate, you're going to see these adventure cards more than you did the Old Gods cards. That's one thing to consider. And let's take a look at some of the top cards that dominated Old Gods, and it's the current arena meta and cards you see quite a bit. So Bog Creeper clearly was I'd say the best neutral card, and many agree it's the best neutral card in the set. This is a big card too, Nerubian Prophet. And just a disclaimer, these cards, once the Karazhan cards come out, these cards are going to see their offerings reduced. So you're going to see these cards quite a bit less. You'll still see them, they're not going anywhere, but you're drafting or facing them, you'll be seeing them less. So Nubian Prophet, I'd say, is the number 2 neutral. Great as a... Some people wait till it's like a 0 cost and they play it as a 4/4 tempo, but I think of it more as a 3-drop. 3 mana 4/4 is pretty good. Psychotron is one of the highlights as well for the neutral drops in Old Gods. Aberrant Berserker wasn't great, but it's a solid pick for any deck, I think. Polluted Hoarder, pretty good too. And when you go to the rares, they're not that great. Corrupted Seer, pretty good AoE card. Corrupted Healbot. Also Midnight Drake, which shows how the lack of depth with the Old Gods cards in terms of neutral rares. And Cyclopean Horror is probably the best neutral here. So let's jump into the classes. So the classes, Druid comes first. They came, let's see here. Sorry about that. So Druid is going to see a loss and reduction of Mire Keeper, Addled Grizzly, and also Feral Rage and Mark of Yasharaj. Here they are. Ordering got screwed up. So Mark of Yasharaj is a really good card that's going to see its rate go down. Feral Rage is kind of, it's like a bite, it's mediocre. Mire Keeper is a really good card, and Addled Grizzly is a situational card. So now, what is Druid going to get? So Enchanted Raven is the first one. It's the first 2/2, 1 mana. And, you know, boring stats aside, this is the first time a 1-drop is a 2/2. They're typically a 2/1 or a 1/2 with an effect, always, except for Murloc Raider. And they always come with an effect. This is a beast, and I gave the rating of it in the low 60s. I'd say it's like a 60-ish card, so it means it's a little above average. If you're playing it on turn 1, your opponent plays it, they don't have a 1. They typically won't have a 1-drop. This could trade with the 1/2s and clear those. And it could also trade with a 2-drop and a 3/2 or 2/3 by virtue of the Druid using their hero power or a Wrath 1 damage plus draw type situation. And 60 is 65, I'd say the rating is. And the card that would really put this card over the edge is Mark of Yasharaj. And to note, I just said that card is seeing its offering rate reduced, and this one's going up. But you will still see it. And Druid is getting more beast synergy as well, so this helps it. Overall, you know, the 2 health isn't going to take it too far, but it's a really solid card that Druid is getting. This one, the Menagerie Warden, 6 mana 5/5, which means you lose 3 points from the stat distributions, and you get a friendly beast if it's on the board. Basically, you get a special summon of a beast, and meaning it's a turn 6 card. You're going to copy a 4 mana or 5 mana, and one card that comes to mind that you could just copy right away and makes it even a better arena card is Stranglehorn Tiger, which is a 5/5 stealth. So they won't be able to kill the card, and it's stealth. So that's huge upside. I forgot what the percentages were for beasts. I think it's like 10% or 9%. And druids have higher offering rates, you know, with the Raven too. So this is a card that's going to be high 60s, low 70s. I think you're gonna have a good chance of getting a beast. Also, Druid of the Claw, it's a pretty good 5-drop. That's probably going to stay around. So this just gives you amazing tempo. There are going to be situations where you're just going to have a 5/5, but really good card as well. And the last one is Moonglade Portal. I think this is the worst of the Druid cards. I looked up the numbers for 6 health minions, and they average 5 attack and 5.3 health. So it's like 4.5 cost, and you heal yourself for 6. So it makes a pretty fair value. A lot of cases in the arena, you do play a 5 mana 5/5, a card like Stranglehold Tiger, like I said, or that mech that gives a +1/+1, Clockwork Knight. That's a pretty good arena card too. So you're getting something like that. And 6 drops tend to have a lot of useful effects. You could have Sylvanas, you could have Karen Bloodhoof, just a variety of cards. Restoring the health is what makes this card less good than other portals, since it doesn't really affect the board, but it's a free. It's 1.5 for 6, which is good enough. And this is a card that I would rate in the 60s too. So all 3 of the Druid cards are above average that they're getting, and they're going to lose. Like I said, Mark of Yashrad, Feral Rage, Mire Keeper, and Al Grizzly. I think it's a fair trade. It's possible this set of Druid cards is even better than the cards that are dropping out, because none of the cards are really bad, and you've got a few, average bad cards with the Old Gods set. So Druid is getting better, I think. So let's go to the next class and look at what they got. Okay, so next class is Hunter, and Hunter is typically considered a weak arena class. I think my win rate against Hunters is like 70, it's in the 70s, high 70s. It's my best class against other than Priest. And they had the Infested Wolf, which was a pretty solid minion, sticky minion. They had the Forlorn Stalker, which is, I'd say, below average. If it gets its effect off, it's good, but it's situational, below average card. Infest, which is just a slow, bad card. Yeah, so that's what Hunter got. Oh, order's all messed up. Sorry about that. Where are the other Hunter cards? So the other Hunter cards are Carrion Grub. Carrion Grub is it's a little above average, I guess. It's worth its stat distribution, but the distribution is a little low. Fiery Bat is a pretty solid 1-drop. You can trade up, and also On the Hunt was an above average card. So let's see. Okay, what is Hunter getting? Kindly Grandmother. This is, right off the bat, people recognize this as a really good card. It's a 2 mana 1/1, and it Death Rattle summons a 3/2. While the Hunter has some weapons in the early game, it's not a ping class, meaning it can't deal 1 damage off the bat like a mage or a rogue or a druid. And this kind of helps. This kind of helps Hunter in that department with the 1-drop. Not the 1-drop, but doing the ping damage. And also you're dropping a 3/2, which allows you to trade up. I'd rate this card in the 70s, definitely. Pushing 80, it's like a 75 at least. And there's Beast Synergy too, which is going to be ever more useful in this set. Cloaked Huntress. This is a body of a spider tank, so it passes that test already. And it makes secrets cost 0. So typically in the arena, secrets are worse than they are in constructed, because you're not guaranteed a bow to help you. But some of the secrets that are pretty good are I'd say Freezing Trap's number 1. Explosive isn't too good. Bear Trap is decent. Dart Trap's bad. Snipe is very situational. Misdirection isn't a card you typically see. But if you pick one of these girls in the arena, you're getting a good card. No matter, even if you don't have your secrets, you're getting a stable 3-drop. Now trade down with trade with some lower minions 2-for-1s, and it would make your secrets. It will allow you to play free secrets, so that's an added bonus. I'd say this card is in the 70s, 70 at least. It's well above average. And the last Hunter card is a new secret called Cat Trick. When your opponent casts a spell, summon a Jungle Panther. I don't know if it's a Jungle Panther, but it's the same stats. So I talk about this in the blog, but it's a lot like Beneath the Grounds, which is a rogue card, and you anti-tempo in a set amount, and then you reap the rewards later on. With Beneath the Grounds, you're paying 3 mana for an inevitable 9 mana worth of Nerubians. This one only sets you back 1. It sets you back. You're paying 2, and you're not getting anything until you get a Jungle Panther, which is worth 3. So you're getting a 1. You're anti-tempoing 2 for a +1 value. And the thing about it is, Arena's not constructed, and you could play a person who doesn't draft any spells at all. It's probably a horrible deck, but it's possible they just weren't offered good spells and they don't pick any spells. I mean, you're going to see classes with a lot of spells that are really annoying, like Mage. Mage is going to have a lot of removal, but certain classes just aren't going to be offered spells. So you might see a deck with 5 spells, and it's likely this will trigger. Well, if you're playing a guy with a coin, they're going to use the coin too. But overall, this is more situational because you never know when that spell is going to come. So I think I gave this card a 50, which means it's fringing below average, but it's not horrible. I don't think it's a horrible card at all. Because it will trigger, but it's just going to be a long wait, I think. So, long and short of it, the Hunter is getting good cards as well, typically, thanks to with no help of this card, but the Cloaked Huntress and the Grandmother are pretty good cards. So now let's talk about the Mage. Let's see. So the Mage was talked about a lot just because of Fireland's Portal, but I'll get to that. So what is the Mage losing? The Mage is losing this really bad card here, Servant of Yogg-Saron. If you've seen this card, it typically screws up the opponent, it seems. The Yogg-Saron has a wider catalog of spells, but this guy was just really unreliable. I think I played him once and he screwed me over. And he once played in Astral Communion on my opponent. My opponent played it and they got Astral Communion and they lost the game. Demented Frostcaller, horrible card here. The Mage is going to see a decreased offering rate on this card as well. That's not a Mage card. So this is a really powerful card that the Mage is losing. Another powerful card. This card is really... You play a Forbidden Ritual and it just wipes you out. And the Mage is losing its third bad card in Shatter. So Mage is losing 3 bad cards and 2 good cards. So let's see what they get for Old Gods. So, okay. I think I'm going to talk about him last. So Fireland's Portal was a card, one of the first released cards for this card set, and it rightfully angered a lot of people who care about the arena, because Mage has always been the best class in the arena, and this card will keep it there. Just a plethora of removal cards. That's what makes Mage what it is. I guess it's a class identity thing, but you're dealing 5 damage, you're summoning a 5-cost minion. I looked at 5-cost minions, and they're typically like a 4.2, 4.7. So if you round those stats, you're getting a Chill and Yeti on average. The only good thing, well, it's not a good thing. It's bad for mages, but the only good thing is that I forget what the percentage is, but I think a third of the minions are Battlecry minions, which means they would be understated. Otherwise, the combination of dealing 5 damage for removal, it's typically going to get rid of any 6-drop and 5-drop, and getting a tempo Yeti is just too good. Even at 7, I think when you got a Flame Strike, this could be better than your second Flame Strike. I think this is a really good card. And further, it could go face. I'd say it's a 90. It's rated a 90, which makes it top tier. Babbling Book was the rare card, and it adds a random mage spell. It's a 1-mana 1/1, which is kind of goes into the theme of Karazhan, which are effect minions with low attack and health. And mage spells, like I said, are pretty good. You could get some crappy secret, get a shatter maybe, but more often than not, they'll be useful cards here. So, sorry. I'd say this card is at least a 70, maybe a 75. And this is the card. There's the interview with Mike Danaeus, and he said, we knew one of the cards is going to be bad for the arena. This was about why Firelands Portal was not a common, why it is a common and not a rare. And he said, this card is pretty bad. We're gonna make it a common, so it competes with Firelands Portal. I'm not seeing a bad card here, honestly. It's a River Croc with a very good situational effect. So, River Croc's not a bad card. You need your 2-drops. And for this card to work, you're going to need a secret. So it means it's going to be played after turn 3. So, theoretically, you're going to play it whenever. If you draft a deck with 1 secret or 0 secrets, you're not going to hold this. You're just not going to hold this card around. Let's say you draft a deck with a few secrets. This could be played in the mid-game. Dealing 3 controlled direct damage is very high value. Fire Elemental is a card that does that, and think about how good that card is in the arena. And this does that in the early to mid-game. I'd say, so it's better than a River Croc, but the situational effect makes it not. It's not an OP card. It's like a high 50, low 60, I'd say. So, yes, the mage is losing Faceless Summoner and also Twilight Flamecaller, but it's getting 2 cards back that are really good and 1 average card. It's losing 3 really bad cards in Shatter, Demented Frostcaller, and Servant of Yogg-Saron. So, mage either stays the same or gets better with the expansion. So let's move on to the next class. Let's see. Next class is Paladin, I believe. So cards they're dropping out. When I say they're dropping out, it means that they're getting offered less. Light in the Darkness. This is a value card that's kind of slow. I'd say it's above average for sure, but people can make good use of it. I never did. Divine Strength, I'd say it was average. I don't think it was anything amazing. Standing Against Darkness, you saw this card with a combo, but it's okay too. It's average. In the rares, you got Steward of Darkshear. This card, this goes with the combo card, made a lot of Divine Shields, which made it a tick above average, I'd say. And Selfless Hero, which is a solid 1-drop. So let's see what Paladin is getting. So, this card, Nightbane Templar. If you're holding a dragon, you get 2 whelps, and that will make this card a 4/5 for 3 mana, which is ridiculous. But what are the chances you're holding a dragon in the arena? I mean, there are cards you see a lot in the arena, like Draconid Crusher or Azure Drake, or Fairy Dragon. Those are just the good cards you see, but I looked at the numbers, and Paladin plus neutral gives you a 5% chance of a minion being a dragon. So there's a chance you might get one dragon in your whole deck. Is that worth having a minion that's, 2 points? It's a 2-drop essentially without the battle cry. I don't think so. So that will set this card back into the 40s. When an effect does trigger, it's great, but it's below average otherwise. It's not horribly below average. It's a 2-3, which makes it a 2-drop, but very situational effect makes it below average in the 40s. So this is a portal card, Silver Moon Portal, and it gives a minion 2/2 and summon a random 2 cost. Like all the other portals, I looked at how good a 2 cost is, and a 2 cost is exactly 2 attack and 2.4 health. So that value it's a murky value. It's below 2, but it's more than 1.5. It's somewhere like 1.7 maybe. And you're getting a 2/2, which a 2/2 buff, which is a little above Divine Strength. So it's like 2/2. So it's exactly fair value. But it's not better. The buff isn't better than Seal of Champions or anything like that. So plus it's a turn 4 play, which makes it a little debatable. So I think this is a purely average card. It's in the 50s, I'd say. I'd say high 50s, maybe in a 60, but it's a very average portal. And this card, Ivory Knight, is kind of it's huge anti-tempo, as you can see. You're losing 5 points, so it's big time anti-tempo. You're discovering a spell. I looked at the stats for Paladin spells, and on average you're getting a 3-cost spell. But there are a number of secrets where you could get 1 or anything like that. Paladin spells are typically buffs too, so it's a good spell, but the healing wouldn't be much. And I don't think that's worth playing a 4/4 for 6 mana. So I think this card is like in the 40s as well. So I think Paladin got really bad cards here. Paladin is always considered one of the easy to play OP cards in the arena, classes in the arena, but they're taking a big hit with these 3 cards, I think. So Paladin is taking a big step back, in my opinion. I'd be interested to see if what other people think about that. So let's look at the next class we've got, which is priests. Priests. They're still around. So priests are typically topic of conversation for constructed play. They haven't really... No one's really complaining about priests in the arena, but they're pretty bad there too. So Darkshire Alchemist, they're losing a pretty good card here. It's a mid-game card, but effect is very solid. It's not a priest card. Power Tentacles, this was a below average card. Weird buff card. Shifting Shade was a pretty good card too. Showered Horror was just a bad card. So let's see what they're getting in the expansion. So Purify, this card, this is the make or break for Constructed, but in the arena, the only thing that prevents this from being horrible is that it draws a card. There's cards like Flare and Commanding Shout that are kind of similar. Silence a friendly minion would be useless for almost every minion. It does allow, let's say you draft a couple of these, 2 of these in the deck. You could possibly draft Ancient Watcher, Eerie Statue, Ventrico Mercenary, anything with a bad effect, but you could draft those cards and then you get this buried as your second to last card and you're just not going to get anything. So I rated this card in the 30s. which makes it pretty bad, but I don't think it's the worst card just because it draws you a card. And you're relying on yourself to... Well, another thing this could do is, let's say you have lethal and one of your minions is frozen. This could silence him and make you attack. I don't know what else to say about this card. Yeah, it's not that... It's pretty bad. Priest of the Feast is probably the value card for the priest. Whenever you cast a spell, restore 3 health. It's a 3/6, which is 9 points, and that's perfectly fine. It's less attack but more health, so it lets you trade with multiple 3 drops and 2 drops. But I don't think the priest's problem is healing. It's just getting initiative on the board, and this doesn't really do it. It's certainly of average quality, but it's not going to be well above average. It might be a tick. It might be just like barely above average. Yeah, I don't see too. And you have to rely on spells, which is one thing to consider because spells are kind of scarce in the arena. And the last, the rare card the priest got is the Onyx Bishop, and it's a fair value because you're getting 2 cards in one. It gives you Resurrect and a Spider Tank, and it's 2+3, which is 5. But so that will make this card, I'd say, average value. But the thing is that this works a lot better in Constructed than the Arena because you don't know what you're going to get, and if you could get pretty good value if you get a late game card from this, but considering it's a 5-drop, in the Arena you want 2 drops to stabilize the board. I don't think this card is that good. I think it's worse in the Arena, so I'd say it's a below average card. It's like 45. Just a tick below average. Just by virtue of it being a 5-drop, and the Arena is going to be faster from what I could tell with the stats. And you're going to summon like a 2-drop. I don't know if it's worth it. So Priest didn't really get anywhere. I'd say they lost better cards than they got. They lost a Shifting Shade. These cards aren't as good. So the next class is Rogue. Oh, for Paladin I skipped Rallying Blade. It's a pretty good card they're losing. So Rogue is my favorite class. Let's see. Cards Rogue is losing. Rogue is losing Shadow Strike, which is top tier removal. Bladed Cultist, which is well above average. You could have set some coin combo and have amazing early game tempo. Huckster was a pretty good card as well. Journey Below, less so, but it gives you a pretty high value minion. And Softseed Squid Face was just a little above average. So what is the Rogue getting? Rogue is one of the top classes in the Arena. Certainly the class I do the best in. It's considered more complicated than the Mage and Paladin, so that's why people play it a bit less. But it's a really good Arena class, unlike in Constructed. And the first card you're seeing is the Swashbuckler. It continues the theme of stealing opponent cards. And it's a 1-mana 1/1. So the thing that's really good about this card is it meets many criteria. It's a pirate, so there's synergy with Shady Dealer. 1-mana 1/1. You're losing a point there, but you're getting a really good battle cry. It's a combo enabler, which is good. It's not even a combo card. Bladed Cultist was a 1-mana combo, so you needed to play it second. This could be your setup card for your combo, so it's really good. So it meets all those criteria, which would make this card firmly well above average, close to top tier. I wouldn't say it's top tier. It's like the very good tier, I'd say, but in the 80s, I'd say this card is. Deadly Fork. So this card is really hard to evaluate, in my opinion. You're paying 1 extra mana to get a 2-drop, an aggressive 2-drop, and in the Death Rattle you're getting a 3/2 weapon, which is a fork, and the 3/2 weapon is a 3 mana 3/2, so you're not getting a fiery war axe, you're getting a rallying blade with no effect. And it's hard to say if this is a good card. I think it could. It's definitely average. I think it's a fringe, above average to average card. I just don't think it doesn't equip the fork, which is a cost. It costs. You're gonna have to pay to equip the fork. I'm not sure if another weapon like that in that slot would help the rogue, honestly, in your turn 4 play. I don't know. This card could be amazing, but I think it's a little slow. That's the issue with it. And the last card is the Ethereal Peddler. You're getting a battle cry to reduce your cards from other classes by 2. So this works with cards like Burgle and Huckster and also Swashbuckler. At first I was a little skeptical of its effect triggering, but then I found that Swashbuckler was coming out, so that means it could happen quite a bit. And otherwise you're getting a Pit Fighter with a good situational effect. So this makes it at least a Pit Fighter, and it's in the 70s. It's above it. It's pretty good. So overall, the rogue is getting 3 either a little above average to great cards. So rogue it's not really losing much. You're losing the removal card in Shadow Strike, but it's getting a really good set of cards here. So we're down to our last 3 classes. Shaman. So this is the infamous 4 mana 7/7. This is going to see its reduction, its rate reduced. Stonecrack. This is like a Shadow Bolt, very average removal card. Primal Fusion. This was a bad card. I don't think you could rely on summoning totems in the arena. Master of Evolution. This was a pretty good card. It's a Yeti with a plus effect. Thing from Below was also a pretty good card. It's more of a constructed card, but as long as you get 1 totem, it's worth its value. And Evolve. This is a card a lot of people use wrongly. I think they just summoned a bunch of things and used it as a taunt, desperation taunt. But you're gonna see these cards reduced. So Shaman is getting a Spirit Claws, which is an early game weapon, but it's a 3/3 if you have a spell damage. So there are not a lot of spell damage minions out there in the arena, but you could get your roll of the totem, and that would provide a 3/3 weapon. So you're not going to want to roll your totems. You're going to want to play a 2-drop. Just because there's RNG in getting the Spell Power totem. When you do get the 3/3, it's an amazing card. But if you don't, it's still like a Light's Justice, I'd say. So it's a pretty good card. I'd say it's like a 70. Maybe a little below. Wicked Witch Doctor. 2 points anti-tempo. When you cast a spell, summon a basic totem. Again, Shamans have pretty good spells, but I don't know if it's worth, wasting a spell just to get a totem, a basic totem. It doesn't summon totem golems, flame tongues, or mana tide totems. So I'd say it's in the average range. Could be above average. If you have enough spells to burn, it could be above average, but it's not that exciting in my opinion. And finally, the Maelstrom Portal. You're dealing 1 damage to all minions and summoning a 1-cost minion. So this card is a lot like Twilight Flamecaller and Ravaging Ghoul in that you're dealing 1 damage and you're summoning something. The average 1-drop is a 1.3, 1.6. So any way you look at it, it's better than Arcane Explosion, and it's damage plus tempo, which works. So I'd say this is a good card, but not. It's not wickedly strong. So overall, the Shaman got good cards, but they're not amazing. They have the potential. The Spirit Clause has the potential to be amazing, but I think they lost better cards. You're losing the 4-mana 7/7 and also Master of Evolution. So I'd say the Shaman got a tick worse, but it's not. It's gonna remain in whatever tier it's in right now. Definitely got weaker, in minion wise. Our second to last class is Warlock, and let's see what we got for Warlock. Possessed Villager was a pretty good early game card. Darkshire Councilman was a pretty annoying card. It's more of a constructed card because you could rely on spamming minions, but it was above average in the arena. Forbidden Ritual is a very good card. Just generates tempo. Darkshire Librarian wasn't a particularly good card. Spraying Madness was just bad. So the overall kit of the Warlock wasn't amazing with Old Gods. True what they got. So Malchezaar's Imp. It's 1-mana 1/3. Whenever you discard, draw a card. So the Warlock is heading into a theme of getting a new type of build, which is the discard lock. But in the arena, you just can't rely on that. It's just, I mean, how often are you going to draft a Succubus? You're going to want cards like Soulfire and Doomguard. Those are two pretty good cards. Dark Bargain could work too, but those cards discard cards. But how often are you going to rely on doing that? You know, it's just a situational effect you don't want to. There's upside, but you don't want to use the downsides in the arena just to make something work, I think. So Malchezaar's Imp would fall into that category. And the thing is that Warlocks don't really need card draw because their hero power is card draw. So it's a little repetitive in that regard. Otherwise, it's a 1-mana 1/3, which makes it a little below average. I'd say high 40s. So Karazhan, it's like Silverhand Knight. It generates 6/6 worth of tempo, and it's a bit like Mire Keeper when you're playing Druid. You summon a slime, except this comes with a 1/1. So I'd say it's above average just because it generates the tempo. It works with cards like Sea Giant and also Knife Juggler. So Knife Juggler would have extra pings, and Sea Giant would be cost reduction. And also you could use the little guy with Power Overwhelming to clear something bigger. So this is a card in its 60s, I'd say. Low 60s maybe. And Silverware Golem, again, this is a discard condition. If you discard it, summon it. This is a little worse just because you have to make sure you have very few cards in your hand and you're at the mercy of RNG to discard this card. Sometimes you might just have this and a Doomguard and you play it and you have amazing tempo. So that's what saves this card from being horrible. It's only 1 point anti tempo, so that's not too bad of a card. I'd say it's like a 50. It's average. So the Warlock is getting average cards, and they're losing. They lost some good cards, but they also lost some bad cards. So they're pretty much. I don't think they're getting much stronger. They could have gotten worse in the arena. And finally, we've got our last arena class, and this is probably the most exciting one because you see what Warrior is losing here. This was All-Star, Arena All-Star. It's a constructed in Arena All-Star. Just an amazing overall card. Works with everything Warrior does, and it does 1 damage. Nazaf's First Mate. This is also standout early game card. Bloodhoof Brave, another solid card. The Blood to Ichor. Pretty amazing too on Arena and Constructed. And Bloodsail Cultist, it's hard to pull off the combo, but it works. It worked really well with N'Zoth's first mate, and it's still a thing you see in Pirate Warrior. But in the arena, you pull it off sometimes, and you win the game if you pull off this combo. So this was really interesting that the Warrior got such good cards in the arena. It's gonna be hard to top that. So what is Warrior getting? So this is the card that might save them, because the other two cards suck. Fool's Bane. It's an interesting weapon, and it allows the Warrior to attack multiple minions each turn. So it could be better than Wind Fury. You could attack 3 things if they have 3 things on the board. What's bad about it is that it takes. I mean, you can't attack you can't attack heroes, so it's a severely. But it's what you're trying to do in the arena is stabilize the board, and this allows unlimited stabilization of the board for that turn. That turn or maybe 2. And the bad thing is you're taking a ton of damage, but life is only a resource, so take the damage. You're a warrior, you can armor up later. This is strictly better than Assassin's Blade. It has the same stats, but just because you stabilize the board, it's just a very good card. I gave it an 80, but I think it's better than that. It could be top tier 90 level. So let's get to the bad cards. Ironforge Portal. This one came as a bit of a surprise because it wasn't in the reveal picture, but gain 4 armor and you summon a random 4 cost for 5. So I looked at the 4 drops. The average 4 drop is a 3.1, 4.1. So that means you're getting like a spider tank, and then you're paying 2 mana to get 4 armor, which is a pretty bad deal. This card's like a shield. This card's worse than shield block, I'd say. It's in the 30s. It's pretty bad. And the last card is Protect the King. It's like Unleash the Hounds, except you get a taunt minion. And what makes this bad and Unleash the Hounds good is that it has no initiative. When you're talking about Unleash the Hounds, you have your minions with charge, and then you could boost them and have them trade or go face. This card has no initiative. You're just laying out some pawns to get knocked down. You're just delaying the inevitable. The one card that works with this is Bolster, and that would give very good value because you will have 3 3s with taunt. It's a 5 mana combo, but the bad thing is that you have to have had drafted this card and Bolster, and those are 2 bad cards. If you draft one and not the other, it's pretty much crap. So let's say you pick 2 of these in the arena. I would draft the Bolster then, but it doesn't do much for you. It just plays 1/1 taunts, which aren't even like a gold tier footman. It's not much value. So long and the short of it is Warrior got 2 good one really good card and 2 pretty bad cards. I'd say this card's like a 40. It's not unplayable, but it's like a low 40. So overall impressions, I'd say nothing is changing in the arena. The top classes, Mage and Rogue, are staying there. Paladin could go down just based on what I saw, but they still should have enough tools to get by. Druid is a riser. Druid and Hunter could be risers, just because of the cards they got. Paladin's going down, like I said. Priest is staying. I don't think Priest is getting any better in the arena. Shaman and Warlock are kind of in a stasis. They got moderate changes, so I don't think they're moving anywhere. So Mage and Rogue are my predictions to be the best cards again, and that could be annoying for you if you're tired of facing those classes. Paladin, yeah, it's interesting to see where Paladin's going to be, but it's going to be a faster meta. I personally will still auto pick Rogue, and I will enjoy playing the class. I don't know if I could get better in the other classes. My number 2 is a Shaman, my number 3 is a Warlock, so I mean they're kind of in flux there. Yeah, expect to continue seeing mages and their removals and rogues. There's been talk about arena changes in offering rates for individual cards. That's what Ben Bro talked about, and that would completely change the arena. But right now, this is what we're getting. There's not going to be much of a shift, and we're going to see a faster meta with smaller minions. Alright, so I'm going to include the link to my blog post, and I'm also going to put this video in the blog post. It's kind of like a cycling loop of my content. But yeah, those are my impressions of all the Karazhan cards and what's going to happen in the arena. Thanks for watching.